And it's great to see the references by many of our participants about the work that DHL is doing with SMEs. For us, you know, everybody sees big corporations are just focused on their big corporation customers. DHL takes a different approach in Africa. We have a very strong focus program across Africa, supporting and upskilling and equipping the SMEs with the ability to trade cross-border. So we run a number of initiatives at the moment. We're running a program called the PECI, the Post-African E-Commerce Initiative. That, for example, involves training SMEs either in classroom environments in Kenya, Ghana, Rwanda, online, and providing them with the skills and expertise to trade cross-border and understand the logistics of trading cross-border. And that's all done at no cost to the SMEs, for example. So we're very focused on training and upskilling and how do we support their businesses. I like the reference to the fact that we do, in fact, look at how do we provide the support and discounting freight rates, for example, and how do we collectively work with the SMEs to support their business, because you understand that it's not cheap doing cross-border trade. And so a lot of work we're doing across Africa is how do we simplify the trade environments for SMEs? How do we help, for example, and a lot of the participants have referenced the AFTA agreement. How do we help realize the objectives of what AFTA wants to do in terms of stimulating and increasing intra-African trade, which is a very small portion of the trade that does get currently facilitated in Africa. So DHL is very much focused on trade facilitation. In fact, in the last year, we set up a DHL division called Go Trade. Together with the German government, there's been significant investments made in Africa in terms of upskilling the SMEs. How do we help them build their programs and expand their product awareness? There's a number of programs that empowers female entrepreneurs. So there's a lot of work being done in terms of the SMEs themselves. In terms of advancing the digital agenda, I do have a presentation which I won't go through now. I know because we're constrained for time, but some of the things that we're doing, I'm just going to my actual notes on that. Some of the things that you can do in Africa in terms of digital trade is COVID has highlighted the importance of digital trade and digitization. That's without a doubt. It's demonstrated the need for it. It's demonstrated to the regulatory authorities the ability to manage that trade-off between risk and how do you protect what comes in and out of the borders, and how do you manage the paper flow against trade facilitation. So COVID has been an ideal tool in a positive way in terms of demonstrating how digitization can actually work and can manage the risk that a lot of authorities are reluctant to allow through digitization. You know, very often people have been used to handling hard copy paperwork. And I once interviewed a customs officer on the ground in one of the countries, and I said, you know, you have a paperless trade agenda in your country where you can use online paperwork to clear the goods. And the lady said to me, no, I've always used hard copy documents. That's the way it's always been. So there's a lot of change management and transformation of the way that people think in order to gain acceptance of the digital trade agenda. And so part of my job as the Director of Trade and Customs at DHL is to facilitate that mindset change and demonstrate how digitization can benefit the customs processes, facilitate trade, simplify and optimize the cross-border trade flows, and how it can generally make the cost of doing that cross-border trade a lot less. You know, I put together matrices for our customers who are wanting to work out what landed costs would be in destination countries in Africa. And the number of different charges, for example, that add to the cost of doing business are significant. And so digitization can come into that and allow us to reduce those costs. And so what we're doing at DHL is we're also making investments in our digital agenda. It's one of our core focus programs. We run a program at DHL, or we have a program called Focus 2025, and it talks about digitalization as being one of the key elements of our focus efforts. So across Africa, we built platforms that enable the SMEs and the online retailers to have flexible delivery solutions. For example, their customers can go online and select, do they want to pick a parcel up from a DHL facility? Do they want to pick it up from one of our retail partners? The other very important thing that you might be interested that we're doing in Africa is the ability to online pay your duties and taxes, your fiscal charges. So these days, what happens in Africa is when you pick up a shipment anywhere in the world, DHL takes that paperwork, your invoice and your transport documents, We image it, we digitize it, and we transmit it to the destination country who prepares the customs entry. Based on that draft customs entry, we can calculate what the duties and taxes will be for import. We have the ability, before that shipment even arrives in the country, to transmit an electronic message to the customer via email or via SMS with a payment link. They can click on the link, they can pay the duties and taxes before the shipment arrives. And when it arrives, it becomes a very seamless process for us to get the shipment to their customers. So we're harnessing a lot of the technology that enables digitization to facilitate flexible delivery, which is a very, very key element of any SME cross-border trade, is to be able to offer their customers delivery flexibility, the ability to pay online using a secure platform with a credit card or an EFT or other means of payments, that ability to do that online very simply at the simple click of a button. So digitization has become very, very important in facilitating trade and pushing through the objectives of many of the trade facilitation programs, the most important being the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement that was rolled out in January this year. So there's a lot of work that has been done. There is still a lot of work to be done. So for example, in Africa, only 47.8% of paperless trade has been implemented within the Africa region versus the global standard of around 63%. So there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of pushing the digitized agenda. It is making progress. We're seeing a lot more traction. We're seeing a lot more acceptability and understanding of what paperless trade is and what digitization is about. And in the last couple of months, there have been a number of webinars, a number of panel discussions, of the points to be discussed. And a lot of the governments are now looking at how do we help work with the private sector in terms of trade facilitation through digitization. And part of my role is to facilitate and drive that public-private dialogue, because that's essential. You can't do it in isolation as a private sector company. You need to work hand in hand with government to find the way forward in terms of driving that agenda. And another example of data usage, for example, somebody earlier mentioned the use of data. The other thing that we're encouraging the authorities and the regulatory agencies in Africa is to make use of the data that's available online. Digitized information that's available online can be used, for example, to risk profile shipments before they arrive in the country. So instead of everything arriving in a country and putting on hold whilst the customs authorities inspect every single shipment, we're encouraging the authorities to say, make use of the advanced electronic data that you can get about the contents, the value, the importer, the exporter. Use that data and risk assess the customer's shipment based on that information. So when the goods arrive, don't do 100% inspection on every single shipment. That delays trade, it adds costs, and you don't have a happy customer experience. We're saying to the authorities, look at using the data that's available, which some of them have started to do. We've seen it in Rwanda, where they have launched an advanced data screening process, for example, and that's in a pilot phase. We're saying to them, use that data to assess the risk and then facilitate trade through risk profiling instead of taking a one-size old school approach to customs clearance. So there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of partnership work going on in a lot of countries that we're seeing. And the paperless trade agenda can certainly be advanced by simply looking at online payments, which, as I mentioned, we do already for duties, allowing payments to be made to the customs authorities through e-payments and electronic payments, more reliance on electronic documents such as certificates of origin and other documents that are needed for customs clearance. So there's a lot of opportunity. The only disadvantage, unfortunately, for the SMEs is sometimes the investment costs in the technology that's required. But sometimes it can be as simple as a laptop and a scanner. And that's how simple the process can be in Africa. So for us at DHL, SME expansion is our core focus, more so than focusing on our multinational customers in the sense of driving the SME's abilities to increase their business and upskill them. And then, of course, harnessing digitization to facilitate the trade in expansion environment in Africa and facilitating the objectives of AFTA. So my remarks is it's embrace technology. Technology is the way of the future. Embrace it, accept it. If you have a mindset against technology, change that mindset and work with, for example, in my role, work with your logistics providers to how you can work together to embrace technology. How can your logistics provider support you in that approach? And look at how you can use technology within your business, because the SMEs will be surprised how easy it is to harness the power of digitization to lower their costs, expand their business, and make their business products more accessible globally. We've got customers all over the world buying dried fish from Tanzania, for example. We've got a burgeoning fish market in Tanzania of dried fish, all through the power of digitization and the promotion of those type of products online, and through the embracing of technology. And there's a variety of things we're doing to do that. So embrace technology. Technology is your friend. It's not your enemy. Okay, so that's my last thoughts.